Good morning, dear Dharma friends. I just experienced a wandering mind. It was as though I had left this conversation yesterday and went and did all kinds of things. And now I realize it was a dream. I'm still with you.
Don't forget to record.
Thank you, Had.
Recording in progress.
So I have a slightly longer reading this morning. I hadn't forgotten about this, but I haven't read it in a long time. During the Vietnam War, Thich Nhat Hanh founded an organization, he and his friends, called the Order of Interbeing. And Facebook is going. Or should be. They founded this Order of Interbeing, and they helped everybody. They helped people on both sides, on all sides. And they were attacked and killed by people on all sides. But they refused to take a side. And from that came the 14 precepts of interbeing, the 14 guidelines for engaged Buddhism. So I will read these now, and I'll also put them on my blog today. The blog is at robertbeatty.com, and then if you look at the top, you can see blog. Click on that. Okay, so let us land and becoming deliciously and fully aware of being here.
A little louder, please.
A little louder. See what you can do about turning up your end. I get a lot of noise. Does anybody else, is it loud enough now? Yes?
It's on the low side, Robert. You're intelligible, but it's on the low side from what you usually do.
How about that?
Wow. And I'm hearing it really loud.
Is that good now?
Yeah, that's better.
All right. How weird. Oh, I see. I know we'll see. So, the 14 precepts of interbeing, 14 guidelines for engaged Buddhism. Number 1, do not be idolatrous about or bound to any doctrine, theory, or ideology, even Buddhist ones. Buddhist systems of thought are guiding means. They are not absolute truth. Do not think that the knowledge that you presently possess is changeless absolute truth. Avoid being narrow-minded and bound to present views. Learn and practice non-attachment from views in order to be open to receive others' viewpoints. Truth is found in life and not merely in conceptual knowledge. Be ready to learn throughout your entire life and to observe reality in yourself and in the world at all times. Number 3, do not force others, including children, by any means whatsoever, to adopt your views, whether by authority, threat, money, propaganda, or even education. However, through compassionate dialogue, help others renounce fanaticism and narrowness. Number 4, do not avoid contact with suffering or close your eyes before suffering. Do not lose awareness of the existence of suffering in the life of the world. Find ways to be with those who are suffering, including personal contact, visits, images, and sounds. By such means, awaken yourself and others to the reality of suffering in the world. Number 5, Do not accumulate wealth while millions are hungry. Do not take as the aim of your life fame, profit, wealth, or sensual pleasure. Live simply and share time, energy, and material resources with those who are in need. Do not maintain anger or hatred. Number 6. Do not maintain anger or hatred. Learn to penetrate and transform them when they are still seeds in your consciousness. As soon as they arise, turn your attention to your breath in order to see and understand the nature of your anger and hatred and the nature of the persons who have caused your anger and hatred. Number 7. Do not lose yourself in dispersion and in your surroundings. Practice mindful breathing to come back to what is happening in the present moment. Be in touch with what is wondrous, refreshing, and healing both inside and around you. Plant seeds of joy, peace, and understanding in yourself in order to facilitate the work of transformation in the depths of your consciousness. That was loud. One moment, please. Number 8. Do not utter words that can create discord and can cause the community to break. Make every effort to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. Do not say untruthful things for the sake of personal interest or to impress people. Do not utter words that cause division and hatred. Do not spread news that you do not know to be certain. Do not criticize or condemn things of which you are not sure. Always speak truthfully and constructively. Have the courage to speak out about situations of injustice, even when doing so may threaten your own safety. Number 10. Do not use the Buddhist community for personal gain or profit, or transform your community into a political party. A religious community, however, should take a clear stand against oppression and injustice, and should strive to change the situation without engaging in partisan conflicts. Number 11. Do not live with a vocation that is harmful to humans and nature. Do not invest in companies that deprive others of their chance to live. Select a vocation that helps realize your ideal of compassion. Number 12. Do not kill. Do not let others kill. Find whatever means possible to protect life and to prevent war. Possess nothing that should belong to others. Respect the property of others, but prevent others from profiting from human suffering or the suffering of other species of the earth. Number 14. Do not mistreat your body. Learn to handle it with respect. Do not look on your body as only an instrument. Preserve vital energies, sexual breath, spirit for the realization of the way. For brothers and sisters who are not monks and nuns, sexual expression should take place without sexual expression should not take place without love and commitment. In sexual relationships, be aware of future suffering that may be caused. To preserve the happiness of others, respect the rights and commitments of others. Be fully aware of the responsibility of bringing new lives into the world. Meditate on the world into which you are bringing new beings. The 14 Precepts of Interbeing, created by Thich Nhat Hanh in the midst of war. So let us do much less. Let us come to this spot right here. Right here in your familiar meditation spot. And what is it that awareness notices? Many of us have been well trained to begin by coming home to the body where it touches the chair. Embracing the aliveness of the fingers. It's an amazing thing, isn't it? Awareness can somehow be directed. Open in the fingers and hands and all of their aliveness. Please notice the aliveness in what you think of as your face. And breathing. The body breathes itself. Each breath comes out of nowhere. It doesn't exist. And then it does, and then it doesn't. Sounds come and disappear. For the period of our formal training, our intention is to just be like a rock or a tree. And so we sit here with a certain determination. Just like Siddhartha Gautama did on that fateful night when he had that huge awakening. There may well be thoughts. There might be a lot of thoughts. There could be a storm of thoughts. A tsunami of emotions. Greeting all of them with the same spaciousness and equanimity. None really more important than any other. And they're all singing the song of impermanence. Foundational to our practice is the fact of metta, of love. The act of acceptance, of receptivity. Mixed with mindfulness's non-judgmentalness. So we get to truly relax into this breath right now. In a broader view than mindfulness of breathing, we can notice the quality of mind. Is this now a mind which is calm and quiet? Or perhaps restless and agitated? Or somewhere in between? Is it a mind that's flavored of concentration and little wandering? Or is there a lot of wandering? Is it a mind of contentment or a mind of wanting something? A mind of deep acceptance or a mind of rejection and resistance? Is it a mind that is crisply awake or that is sleepy and dull? Is it a mind of faith or a mind of doubt or something in between? observing how convincing the mind is in spinning fantasies. In manifesting memories and plans, complete realms of imagination. The mind is quite capable of creating enemy images. Of holding on to resentments. Of blossoming into compassion. And mindfulness can notice all this. And using the breath as a strategy for stability. When you can, come home, abide in breathing and out breathing. amazing act of kindness to ourselves, to our loved ones, to the world. There's a practice the Sufis do, one of their central practices. It's called zikr. And there's a chant, La ilaha illallahu. There's nothing but the one. It's all one. And one says that 101 times. And then the next is Allahu. One says that 101 times. And then there's Hu 101 times. And then there's just the head movement 101 times. And the head is moving in a spiral, sort of, over the left shoulder, down in the chest, up, and then around. And there's a visualization, which is that the light of the universe is drawn down into the crown of the head and into the heart. The love of the universe, in their terminology, would be the love of God, comes down into the heart. And then it manifests in the heart and flows throughout all activity to all the world. And they have an understanding that the only way the love of the universe can be transformed in the human world is through the human heart. And each human heart is an entry point. The only way this comes into the world is through your heart, my heart. And so we create a consciousness, or we participate in a consciousness. We participate in a practice of coming home and awakening from the dreams, the fantasies. Awakening here in the simplicity of the present moment. Along the way, facing our various demons, our various compulsions. And so what we do here is the noble work. And each of us is capable of it. We are the leading edge of consciousness evolution in the universe, right here. And so let us attend to breathing with love. When the mind wanders into the past or future, let us become aware of that with love. And when it hurts, when there's suffering, let us meet this aspect of our being with compassion. we observe the birth into existence of thoughts. And as the mind clarifies, we see how they think themselves into existence. I've heard many times people saying around their self-hating thoughts, "Why do I do this to myself?" That's another unhelpful thought. Because no one's doing anything. It's the mind that's been conditioned in some very unskillful ways. And so as we awaken, we learn how, it's obvious, actually. Oh, here's this thought stream and it would like to continue. Well, thank you very much. I think I'm going to go back to the breath. And I will abide here in the breath. And I'll come back 10,000 times, planting the seeds of awakening. Please let us become aware of the hands and the fingers, remarkably alive. Let's be aware of the buttocks and thighs pressing into the chair. Notice the face. Let's notice the throat. In honor of Ruth Denison, notice the front of the throat, the back. If you discover any tension inside, embrace it, release it. Receiving the light on the left, the life on the left side of the throat and the right side of the throat, the neck. And then bringing awareness deep inside where the tongue starts way down in the neck. Soften. Let the tongue soften in the mouth. And see if softening the throat, the tongue, can result in softening elsewhere in the body. And please now let us allow awareness to open in the cheeks and the nose and the eyes. And in this ritualized fashion that we've done so many times, notice the prompted intention to let the eyes open. And then let them open. Or form the intention and exert what we think of as the will. Do the work of lifting the eyelids. Bring mindfulness with you, of course. Seeing. Seeing and knowing it. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. And may we realize that this already happened. As our consciousness is the consciousness. So every seed of love and compassion and mindfulness, sympathetic joy and equanimity, compassion, every seed of that we incubate in our own being is part of the world. Every tentacle of hatred and jealousy and fear and greed that we transform into love and compassion affects the world. It is the world. Thank you very much for being here on this, what we call the last day of the year, a kind of randomly picked day. Would have made much more sense to make it on the 21st, on the solstice, but somebody made a decision sometime, and here we are. We pretend that one year's ending and another one begins. Or we create those structures in the mind and in the culture. So I'm going to be good and mention, take us to this. The digest, so beautifully created by Gregory and Molly. You too can receive the digest once a week if you go to, if you send an email to Avi at portlandinsight.org and ask for that, or go to the website and there's several ways in there you can sign up. So first off, end of the year's fundraising. Today's the last day. So if you're moved to bring some of your discretionary income into the delight and joy of supporting other people coming to the Dharma and your center, please do that. There's an event this evening with Gary and myself. You need to sign up. It's very easy. You go to the website and you find the little square on the homepage, and what did we say? We will honor the beginnings and endings we have been. We will honor our grief. We will turn inward and then have opportunities to share what is to be shared. We will dance the dance of opening and transformation. We will clarify our intentions and commitments as we open into 2022. We will delight in being reminded of the refuges and precepts. And this is January the 4th, the year of magical thinking. It's a beautiful audio piece read by Vanessa Redgrave in the work of Joan Didion, Joan who passed away about 2 weeks ago. It's a beautiful sharing of what happened in her mind in the year following her husband's death in front of her. So that happens. There's no fee for this. The Women's Restoration and Rejuvenation Circle with Candle, Fridays, January, February, March, and April. I encourage you to look at that on the website. Candle also teaches the first Sunday of the month, first and third, so that's Sunday night, 6:30. And then sometime in January, we're going to have a community meeting, I think in January, maybe February, a meeting of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, a meeting sponsored by that committee. And it will be an opportunity to share about our community statement in that regard, and also to hear Kat present the results of her research about where we are at PIMC in that world. Karma Yoga, volunteering. There's going to be lots of room for volunteering at PIMC, and we won't know that you'll want to unless you go to the website and sign up there. And Doug Pullen, every Thursday night, Heart of Freedom. And save the date. Basics of Mindfulness will be returning 1/27, and then Introduction to Heart Cultivation on 3/31. Robert will also be conducting a class that is yet to be decided. So there you are. That's a lot going on, isn't it? Phew. Imagine what it's going to be like when we get back into the center, which I think looks like it will be sometime mid-January. We're getting close. Did I forget anything, Mr. Dalton?
No, sir. That was thorough and complete.
I'm better when I have cue cards.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, increasingly.
I have them posted all over my house.
I see.
Just getting through the day.
I was just at a wandering mind as you spoke. I love psychological, spiritual cartoons, and there's a cartoon of there's a man standing outside a building, and the window says Quaalude Treatment Center, and then there's a big sign that says this is the door. So, on that happy note, have you anything you'd like to share? Please just unmute. And once again, I want to encourage those who are usually quiet to, if there's something you want to say, please take the risk. And those who are so easy to speak, like myself, please give some room for those who are quieter. And also let us delight in the silence. I don't often see the chat, but this Jamie just asked a question. Why do we think of Ruth Denison when we pay attention to our throats? Was she a singer? Wow. Well, she sang, but she was not a singer. That's not true. She just sang off key all the time and led us in wonderful song. Ruth was my teacher for 42 years, and she was a genius in creating mindfulness exercises that really engaged people. And she did on her retreats, and one time she did with me an hour and a half meditation that never went below my collarbones and never went above the jaw. It was come back, be here, be here, be here, be here, be here, be here. Come back, inhabit the throat. And as one brings awareness deeper and deeper into the throat, it's really interesting how much tension there is there. And then through awareness penetrating it, the tension can release. And then some remarkable opening can happen. So that was I think of Ruth all the time, so I probably should mention her name and the history of her a bit. Her new website is up, ruthdenison.com, really worth a visit.
Good morning, Robert and Sangha.
Sandra.
Hey. I have a burning question for you from the book we've been reading, What the Buddha Taught.
Yes.
I was wondering if I could ask for some clarification.
See if I can be clarifying.
Okay. So it's from the chapter that we were looking at this week about no self. And it's a story about the Buddha is coming near the end of his life. And his attendant, Ananda, wants to know what the final instruction for the Sangha will be for the people that have been following him. And I'd like to read what his answer is.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you could give some clarification on the answer. So he says, as a worn out cart, I am now old, Ananda, 80 years old. As a worn out cart has to be kept going by repairs. So it seems to me the body of the Tathagata can only be kept going by repairs. Therefore, Ananda, dwell, making yourselves your island, support, making yourselves, not anyone else, your refuge, making the Dhamma your island, support, the Dhamma your refuge, nothing else your refuge. And so I'm thinking about that, and then, how we daily think about taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and how the two sort of ideas relate.
Pretty quiet mind over here at the moment. There's a really fascinating book by Stephen Batchelor. I forget the title. Beyond Buddhism, I think. He tells this story of this last chapter. How the Buddha was on the road. He'd been kicked out of the place where he'd spent many years, the rainy season for many years, by the son of King Bimbisara, who had killed his father. Told the Buddha, get out of here. So he was on the road. And they don't know where he was going. He was with a small group. And then he died. And there's a whole story about how he was given bad meat. Not intentionally, but and Stephen Batchelor says it might have been some other illness that had been plaguing him for some time and acted up. But and just so just cross that T. The monks were angry at somebody because they were angry at the householder who gave him the meat. And the Buddha said, don't be angry at this person. There's two meals which a Tathagata, which a Buddha must receive. One is the meal before the awakening, rescuing him from macho fasting. And the other is that which allows him to leave the body. But, and it was very interesting, he didn't appoint a successor, which caused a bit of a mess. And there was another monk, according to Stephen Batchelor, another monk who was quite rigid and doctrinaire, who traveled some great distance to be there to arrive before the Buddha's body was cremated, which would have been soon. And he took over the order. So it may not have been the most strategically wise thing, but what did he mean? I think he was trying to say that we can't take refuge in anyone. The only thing we can truly take refuge in is reality, the way things actually are. And I don't know how we came to be taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, but I do think it's very important to peel that word Buddha off the historical figure, the mythological and historical figure of Siddhartha Gautama, who was the Buddha for apparently 42 years he was teaching. To peel that off and to realize when we take refuge in the Buddha, it's not in someone else. It's in being awake. It's in that which, in the midst of a wandering mind, just lights everything up. So I don't know if that addresses what you were asking at all.
Yes, that's helpful. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. We take refuge in lots of things. I mean, there's some very popular things like drugs and alcohol, like working all the time, like political causes, like activism. Sometimes we can lose sight of taking refuge in the Dharma by becoming so incensed about the unmentionable climate change. Whenever I talk about climate change, I'm sort of in awe and not sure what to say. I did a master's in environmental studies, which I completed in 1974. And I did that as a result of traveling for 5 years around the world. And everywhere I looked, the world was being raped and pillaged and disintegrating. The planet's fine, but way back then, one of the statistics I learned when I was in Nepal was that every year the Nepalis lost between 1.5% to 2% of their arable land to erosion. It's a long time ago. There's a lot less land growing food for the Nepalis. Anyway, that's a place that's a rabbit hole I can go down. But in what? There's an insurance policy that I subscribe to, which is I want to sit for at least an hour every day. I want to remind myself of the refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha and actually practice it, because then that infuses every action through the day. And I guess I want to take a moment to thank everybody for coming for another whole year. We've been doing this in the mornings for a long time. For an eye blink in a long time. So I salute you, and I'm grateful for your presence, because I would have been sitting anyway. but to do it in community and for me to have this opportunity to be in the quote teacher role is really a blessing. And so I thank you for that. So, any other sharing?
Good morning, Robert. This is Vic.
Hello, Vic. Where is your picture? There you are.
There.
Thank you.
Hi. So it was useful for me to hear your encouragement to not think of Buddha as a historical person, but as something within yourself, because I think that's going to be a lot of what I'll have to start doing when I'm having these conversations with my parents. I think I was talking about how they're going to spend 6 months here in the US, and I was thinking of doing the Five Invitations reading with them. Well, I read some of the chapters of the Five Invitations again and realized that just the sentence structure, some of the concepts in there may not be good for the first book about meditation. And so I decided, maybe I should start with the basics of mindfulness, or rather the mindfulness in plain English by Dante Gunaratna. Ah, there you go. That's another option. Yeah.
That's shameless marketing. Great gift for the end of the year for your friends who you'd like to turn on. Mindfulness for a happy life. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. That's definitely another option. I was also considering mindfulness in plain English.
Yeah.
And starting with that. And I broached the topic with them, and they said they're open to it. But then we start talking about well, I guess the best way of saying this is, you talked about the year of magical thinking. My parents have been doing a lifetime of magical thinking. They think the number 3 has magic, that 54 beads or 108 beads is magical, that there's some magic behind that. So it'll be interesting to kind of talk about that and see that as a symbol, but not as magic. So I don't know if you had any thoughts or suggestions about how I might approach that.
You ready?
Yeah.
The Buddha said, let go a little, be happy a little. Let go a lot, be happy a lot. Let go completely and know the happiness of the Buddha. And I don't know. I think I'm laughing because I get tense around the idea of having, if my parents had come to visit for 2 months, I mean, it's like, let's go to the moon this afternoon. But anyway, if you want advice, don't try to fix them at all.
Yeah.
Don't try to change their ideas about, I mean, they're not going to get off the number 3 being a magic number. I mean, that's built into their core. And can you love them like they are, I think is the... And can you support Anne-Marie to live through this period? Because it's going to be really hard. Are they there now?
No, they're in San Francisco right now with my brother, and they'll probably be here sometime in March or so.
So you have time to prepare. You can let go of all kinds of things in the meantime.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know if that's any help, but call me.
I will.
But I think it's really super important. They may not be interested in hearing that Buddhist stuff. They may be saying they are, but they might get here and 20 seconds into it, they might be like, I don't want to hear this. And if you don't accept that, you're going to be at war. Mm-hmm.
Robert, it's Dave Mayer. I have you probably don't have a ready answer for this. It's been haunting me through this whole sit, and I need to let it go by just voicing it. But the 14
precepts of interbeing, yes,
by Thich Nhat Hanh. Somewhere around 11 or 12, one was, let no person profit from the misfortune of others. And the thought that popped into my head is, how do you do that in light of the other 13? Because this is kind of in line with Vic's thing, because it involves you acting towards someone else to prevent them from doing something. And that just seems counterintuitive from all of the other ones. And because it involves judgment, it involves a certain clinging to a notion. And I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
Well, I would suggest to hold all of these lightly. And I'm not sure how that comes to be, but this may be utterly tangential and unrelated, but there was a tragedy here in Portland a couple of years ago where a very crazy man was harassing two young women of color on the train. And two men stood up and confronted him, and he killed both of them. He'd been planning to do it. He talked about it a day earlier. And I would have been one of them. And because I wouldn't let that happen. I would not sit back and be quiet. And so it's a different thing, but it's like to not let harm, if you see harm happening, to speak up. And I mean, sometimes there are people who speak up about what corporations and businesses are doing or individuals are doing. And here's one. There's a couple of times in my life when I did not write a letter of complaint to the board. When I've known, one instance I knew of a doctor, we experienced it. I knew of a doctor who was practicing malpractice. We went to him when my first wife was pregnant with our first baby, and she got German measles. And in the 12th week, her mother had a rubella baby. And Malcolm, who died at 8 weeks or 9 weeks. And so we had this catastrophe happen. And so we went to see this doctor. I will actually use his name. It was Robert Doughton. He's moved to another state. He finally got complaints against me. I had to leave. But we went to him because we were told that he could talk to the baby. And we were into positive thinking, and we were really... anyway, he told us, well, since you caused this to the baby, this deformity, set of deformities, then if you change your thoughts, you can uncause it. And we went on, and we wound up ending that pregnancy, which was a horrible experience. We ended. It was a 5-month saline abortion where the baby is injected with salt and then dies. And then Kathleen gave birth to our little son. But I didn't act. I was very irresponsible. All these years later, I think I should have acted. And there's one other instance with a guy who Jennifer was going to for her hearing aids. And there was we couldn't get in to see him or something, and we went to another person, and he was trying to sell her some new hearing aids with new technology that didn't exist. It was completely malpractice. And I drive by his place when I go to Home Depot every time. I drove by last night and I thought of it. I never wrote the letter. I think that's irresponsible. So that's a way to act. And it's completely within my ethics. And I wouldn't be violently going in and threatening him. I would be writing to the whatever board it is and saying, this guy needs to be investigated.
I understand.
But why didn't I write? It's wimpy. I'm not even at risk in the slightest way, and yet I didn't take the time to write. Why not?
Oh, I forgive you.
Thank you, Father.
I had a
Dave.
thought for Vic, because what I find helps a lot is in talking with what I hear in your parents is, make it about you. Talk about how much it's done for you, how excited you are about this new thing you're involved with, and that's helped me talk with people about what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't converted them to Buddhism, but they certainly have an understanding of what I'm doing. And it seems a way to get get that information out, and they can do with it what they want, but at least it's clearly important in your life.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
I meant it seriously, Vic. Call me. Before you go insane and flee the house or something, call me.
I just have to say that, of course, I'm a different kind of parent. My son would love to have me for 6 months, although I haven't asked him.
I'll bet you are a different kind of parent.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, and I just wanted to mention about yesterday, we talked about watching someone in an abusive relationship, and I was thinking about that. That is a very hard thing to watch. And trying to solve someone else's relationship, the person you think is being abused is generally resistant to talking about that, because of a kind of shame about letting that happen, or denial. So my strategy has been to just be very validating and supportive to the relative or friend I have who I see or feel is being abused, and hope that some self-love can arise, that they can free themselves in some way. It's so difficult, though.
For many years, I've been going to Hollyhock to teach, as you know. And I always stay with my friend Don, who teaches with me. And his wife, Betsy, for as long as I've known her, 20-some years, has been working in a women's shelter in Campbell River. And she never talked much about it, but it was heavy. And every year, I stopped in Vancouver Airport on the way, and there used to be a really fine florist in the airport, and I would get this humongous bouquet and take it to her. And I'd come in the house and hand her the bouquet, and within 30 seconds, I would say, "So, have you solved the issue of spousal abuse in Campbell River yet?" And she'd always say, "No, it's still going on." And the same people were cycling in and out and in.
Yeah.
And it was a very difficult cycle to break.
It's so difficult to be with couples like that.
Oh, painful.
Like, I want to not see them, but then they become more and more isolated. So, yeah.
Oh boy, yeah.
Anyway, I was thinking about that, and it seemed to me that the person who's experiencing the abuse is living out a template from their childhood. I could see it, where they've never been loved by their parents, so they don't know what it is. And what I hope for is just some kind of miracle where they can experience love in some way and see what it is. Because not everybody knows what, love is a pretty vague concept. And some people think, for example, that love is where the person you're with has to do what you say or you'll kill them. So if they could really feel a better way of loving, maybe they could become free. Anyway, sorry to bring that up. I was just thinking about yesterday, but
Thank you.
Happy New Year anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I need to head off into my day. That's a silly thing to say, isn't it? I have a commitment I need to get to before too long. So anything else on anyone's heart that you'd like to share?
Can you hear me now, guys?
I hear you, Kathy.
Okay, good. Thank you. Just, and I bet I speak for some other people here too. Just deep gratitude for this experience in the mornings. And I've been coming for about a year now, and just so grateful. Huge, great gratitude to all of you.
Amen to all of us. Well, shall we go out on a song? May all beings receive all blessings. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam Sadhu 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 So please join Gary and me this evening and
New Year's song.
the New Year's bash.
Will be midnight by that time for me, so everyone have a wonderful New Year.
I guess it would be a little late for you, wouldn't it? Starting at midnight?
Right.
Yeah.
Robert, this is Anna. I just sent you a message. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but if you do have a chance, I would love to hear back from you.
Where did you send it?
Privately.
To in the chat?
Yeah, to you.
Okay then.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year
Well,
to
be well,
all.
everybody.
Thank you, Anna.
Happy New Year.
Everyone.
See you next
Bye.
year.
Hugs, hugs,
Bye,
hugs
Robert.
all around.
Thank you.
Mwah,
Thank you.
mwah.
See you
Bye,
tonight.
everybody.
¿Usted cree que yo no me chequeo antes que nada? Eso es lo primero que yo hago.
Sí.
Sorry, talking to my husband here.
¿Cómo no?
Thank you, Anna. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye, everybody. Prepare for the leap to hyperspace. Thank you, dear friends on Facebook and YouTube.